Hello and welcome to Kibble and Quibble, the place where we talk about dogs. You'll hear from dog experts who will share their tips and tricks with you. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to this week's episode where the topic is what to do with rescue dogs. Joining me today is Billy O'Hara from the National Dog Authority of Ireland. Welcome, Billy.
Hello, Marie. How are you?
Good. Can you tell us a little bit about what the National Dog Authority of Ireland does?
Well, what we try and do, and what we originally set up to do, was stop dogs going into rescue, really. Now, we've branched out into a lot of other areas, such as dog agility, and there's a lot of other dog sports, like we'll say weight pulling and other things that we are involved in. A lot of our dogs at the moment have gone through the Good Citizen Award, which is a kennel club. So we're really, I suppose, from our humble beginnings, just as a group to train dogs that would have gone into rescue. What we're after doing is we're after branching out into dog sports and a lot of other things.
Yeah, and certainly there's a lot to be seen in the media and on social media about rescue dogs. It seems that the rescues are packed and that they've been inundated with dogs since everything reopened during and after the pandemic. Is that true or is it media hype?
The rescues, there's always surges, and there's times when the rescues are empty, and there's times when the rescues are full. And it seems to come in waves like that, like a lot of these things. Now, the rescues are overrun at the moment. It's probably because of what happened during COVID. During COVID, the breeders were breeding a lot of dogs. Now, they weren't breeding a lot of dogs because they enjoyed it. They were breeding a lot of dogs because there was a vast demand for dogs. Even us here, like we don't really breed dogs, but I mean, there was people contacting us on a weekly basis looking for puppies from us, and there was a real demand for dogs, and people were at home and they wanted to walk dogs and they wanted a dog for the family, and the children were at home, and it was a lovely idea that they wanted dogs to be in their home and everything. But when COVID finished and the cold light of day kind of happened and everybody went back to work and children went back to school, and reality cut in, a lot of these dogs that were got during COVID, who couldn't really be socialized, and there wasn't any training centers open really at the time, ended up being put into rescue. So the rescues really ended up full of dogs, and the council pounds as well. It's not only the rescues, but the pounds ended up full of dogs as well. There was situations where there was actually dogs, and they were just left on the side of the street. The rescues couldn't take them. The council couldn't take them because their facilities were. I know of two people that contacted us and told us that they were feeding dogs who were just basically abandoned on the side of the street, and they were feeding them because the dogs were just going around starving. And it now, I mean, it's after coming under a little bit of control at the moment there, but for a few months it was very bad. It was very bad indeed. Yeah. So it's kind of getting better, but all the services were overwhelmed by the amount of dogs that were surrendered or abandoned. Yeah, it was bad.
Right. And was there any particular breed or breeds in particular that were being abandoned, or was it literally the cross section of family dogs and like all of the breeds?
Oh, it was everything. There was
Okay.
everything that was bought, and I mean, I suppose the most common breeds would be ones that were bred during the pandemic, like the likes of the Labradors and Retrievers, and generally dogs like that. But there was pretty much every dog was being abandoned at that point. Like in rescues previously, I would have seen. I remember when the Huskies became very, very popular, and we were working down with Paws Rescue at the time, and we were going down and doing a little bit with them. At that time, they were full of Huskies after the kind of Huskies became popular. In the rescues as well, you will get surges of different breeds of dogs. We'll say when the pit bulls became very popular, a lot of people bought pit bulls, and then the realization of a large, powerful dog that was digging up their garden and chewing their furniture didn't fit in with their ideals. So there was a lot of pit bulls abandoned. It tends to be like, I mean, there's fashions as regards dogs, like anything, like cars or clothes or anything. So there are fashions. And what happens then is these dogs become very popular. Like, I mean, we'll say, like, there, a film will come on and with a certain dog in it. And then everybody will want this particular dog. And then the reality of owning a dog will become an issue. And then these dogs will be surrendered into the rescues or into the pounds, and you will have surges of that type that go in the pounds. Yeah, generally.
Presumably, the people who have abandoned their dogs didn't want to and didn't have that intention at the outset. For people who got a dog during the pandemic and now they're going back to work and they're struggling, what can they do to help themselves and help their dog so that they can make it more manageable for them and avoid having to return the dog?
Well, as I say, that's what we were set up in the beginning for, the idea. And maybe originally my idea was that I could prevent dogs going into rescue, because most people that presented, will say, at the rescues were saying that the dogs, they were destructive or they couldn't walk them. Like, I mean, we'll say a typical scenario would be somebody buys a puppy. We'll go for we'll be devil's advocate here. We'll say the worst case scenario: somebody who hasn't educated themselves about a dog, or who doesn't who sees a dog on a film and decides that dog is beautiful, so they want it, and gets that dog, we'll say, at Christmas, which is the wrong time to get a dog because the weather is very bad and you won't be able to socialize a dog. I mean, a dog has to be socialized very early, or you will have issues. There's no kind of maybe issues about it. If the dog isn't socialized very early, you will have issues. Then the dog, of course, by the summer becomes large and powerful. We'll say the likes of a husky. We'll just go for a husky for instance. And then the dog becomes impossible to walk. He's lunging at other dogs. He's very powerful on the lead. He becomes very, very hard to walk. He becomes unmanageable because he hasn't been trained. Then, when he's not being walked, the energy levels become very, very high and he becomes more destructive. Then he starts escaping from the yard and he starts causing trouble outside. Then, generally, people will end up going to a rescue or a council pound to surrender the dog. That would be, we'll say, we'll go for a worst case scenario. Now, a lot of the cases will say if the person had socialized the dog from an early age. So if we had socialized the dog from 8 weeks old, and we had trained the dog from 8 weeks old, then we would be in a situation where we would be able to walk the dog would be mentally stimulated, the dog would be physically stimulated, and we wouldn't end up with a very large, powerful, out of control dog. So that would have been my original idea when we set up the National Dog Authority of Ireland, that we were going to intervene early and we were going to get the dog into a situation where he wasn't going to be out of control in the first place and end up in rescue or a pound. Now, the pounds and the rescues do very, very good work, and I would be full of admiration for them. But they're at the wrong end of the stick. Like, they are there really in a place where things have gone very badly wrong right from the word go. So right from the moment that the puppy has been bought or acquired, things have gone wrong, and the pounds and the council pounds and the rescues are really at the end of the line when things have gone so badly wrong and the person has been forced to give up their dog. Whereas we would hope to put something in the middle, whereas we can help the person not to surrender their dog. That would have been the original idea behind the entire thing. But hopefully, like, I mean, through education and through us putting education out into the public, we can be in a situation where people will realize that you have to socialize a dog early, you have to train a dog early, and then eventually you won't end up in a situation where you have to surrender your family pet.
Okay, so to summarize, don't get a dog in the winter. Set yourself up for success and get a dog when the evenings are a little bit light and you can walk your dog. And then the second most important thing is to socialize them. For people who have gotten their dog during the pandemic and have completely missed their socialization window, is there anything that they can do now to probably socialize is the wrong word at this point for a full grown dog, but is there anything they can do to train the dog to be good with other dogs and people and children and to be good when they meet people on the leash?
Yeah, you can train your dog at any point. We've had some dogs in here that people have trained at that particular point, and later on in play they've trained. It's just not as easy. There's a lot more work to be done. We'll say if it took your dog a year, that's what I wouldn't say it's a rule, but I would say in my own mind, I would say if it took your dog a year to acquire the problems that he has, such as whatever it is, whether not coming back when called or not walking on the lead or jumping at other dogs when you're out walking. If it took the dog a year to acquire these problems, it's probably going to take you a year to get things under control. So I mean, it's not a matter of coming to a training class and then going, oh well, that's sorted now. Like, but it's a matter of actually putting real work into the dog and real time into the dog, and it can be fixed. But if you arrive here with a dog at a year or 2 years old, when you just can't handle him anymore and he's completely out of control, it is going to take a significant amount of time to rehabilitate the dog. We're into a situation at that point where we're rehabilitating a dog rather than training him. There's a process that has to be gone through to get the dog manageable and back into a situation. All habits have to be broken. You have to change the way that you handle the dog. We have to reacquire the dog's attention, and it's there's a lot of things have gone wrong to get the dog to that stage. So what we have to do, if we get a dog that's a year and a half old and he comes in and he's having major problems, like we're going to have to put a plan in place that's going to get that dog back, and that is going to take a certain length of time.
Right. And for people who have done everything, they've trained their dog, they've exercised their dog, they provide mental stimulation. What are the signs that the dog really should be rehomed?
We've had people here who have taken on dogs that would have been aggressive to both people and other dogs, and they have successfully had the dogs competing in open agility around other dogs and people. Even to say that people maybe who had they mightn't have had the time to put in such effort in as these people did, they would have still, we would have people who would have got the dog under enough control to be able to walk the dog and handle the dog in public. There's always hope, and there's always, if you put the work into it, there's always a chance that you can get the dog back. There's always a good chance that you can get the dog back. It's really down to the amount of time and resource that you want to put into the dog. But I mean, we would see cases here whereas the dog, we'll say people have not put the time and resources into the dog in the first place. Now, this would have nothing to do with COVID. And then they arrive here expecting us to be able to fix the problem, which you can't really. That doesn't work. But that's really down to, I won't say negligence, that sounds very harsh, but it definitely would be down to a lack of knowledge on behalf of the owner and a lack of education in even picking the dog in the first place, and a lack of work and time that has been put into the dog. So, but I wouldn't say any dog. I mean, every dog can be trained. I've never seen a dog that can't be trained. Every dog can be trained and managed. And even if it's a case to say if your dog is, you're having trouble in public with the dog, I mean, just a simple case of training your dog to wear a muzzle. That's a quite doable thing. Training the dog to be around other dogs, that's quite doable. Training your dog to walk on these are all quite doable. But generally what happens is it's people's expectations. People will buy, they will see maybe their friend with a Labrador, and they will buy a Labrador, and they will say, oh, Labradors are good, they walk on the lead and they don't run away and they come back when they're called and they're really good. Now, they have no concept of the amount of work and time somebody has put in to the Labrador they are looking at. Like I have a Dutch Shepherd out there, and I had a man saying to me, "Oh, I'd love one of them Dutch Shepherds. Look the way she comes back to you when she's called and she's walking on the lead for you and everything." And I kind of go like, "Yeah, there's 2 week, 2 years of solid work gone into her on a daily basis. Every day she's been worked." So the idea that you're just going to buy a dog off whatever dog's diet, and everything, and it's just going to you're going to take the wrapper off and it's going to come out of the box and it's just going to walk beside you. Well, that's not going to happen. So I mean, there's a lot of education, and I suppose the people, that have to go into people understand the process that's involved. And just because you see somebody else with a Labrador and it's walking the heel and it's being well behaved, does not mean that you're just going to buy a Labrador and it's just going to be well behaved. It's not like buying a car or buying a toaster. You're buying a living creature that needs that particular interaction and training to be able to be handled in that particular way.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. I have a Labrador. She's absolutely lovely. People always compliment my dog for being such a great dog. And I think if you knew the amount of time I put in to get her to be so well behaved. So, yeah, I think there's that expectation, I suppose, especially when you see dogs on TV, and TV dogs are, of course, absolutely perfect. It's easy to think that you'll just buy a dog and they'll behave like that.
Yeah, well, I suppose the media promotes sound bites and, oh, look at this dog and look at that. And you look at a thing for 10 seconds and you look at a Belgian Shepherd, like, I mean, going through an obstacle course or doing obedience or something. But you see, I mean, that's the end result of a lot of work. It's not just, and everybody then to see a Belgian Shepherd for sale and they go, oh, yes, I'd like one of them because I seen this video. But I suppose the media, or just the mainstream media or social media, like, I mean, you see little sound bites of things and you have a little knowledge then about, but I would say where most people fall down really in the training. They will arrive here and they will do a few weeks of training while the dog or the puppy is new, or if they get a dog out of rescue and they just have the dog for the first few weeks, and then they realize that it's going to take, yeah, it's going to take so much time and effort.
I think another thing is the lack of expectation or the lack of vision that people have sometimes with their dogs. Here's what I mean. People get a dog and the dog might be a little bit hyper or might jump on people. And I think people who aren't familiar with the concept of training think that's just the way my dog is. And other dogs that are a little bit quieter, that's just the way they are. It's not so much, well, some of it is to do with the dog's temperament, but not everybody knows that you can train dogs, that dogs like being trained, and that it's great to be able to communicate with your dog. It's good for the owner and it's good for the dog as well. Once you start doing it, it's addictive. It's a great hobby in its own right. There's lots of commands that you can train your dog. I do know of a lot of people that train their dog paw and nothing else. And I think of all the most meaningless commands, that has to be it. But even if you taught them 3 or 4 commands, that could get them very, very far and make everything a lot safer and more fun for you and the dog. So yeah, I think that not everybody knows that it is possible to communicate with your dog and to teach them to communicate with you.
Yeah, personally, I think it's essential to train a dog. It's like, I mean, saying that a child doesn't have to go to school. It's an essential thing to train a dog. Maybe we'll go back to the 70s when I was young. Like, I mean, and you would have had dogs. They were just kind of roaming around. There was a much, I don't know, there was a much more tolerant kind of attitude to dogs, kind of roaming around, and through this kind of interaction, dogs interacted with each other and they interacted with strangers. And it wasn't really training, but they, like, I mean, from the time of puppy, I suppose there wasn't as much traffic around. Well, I'm in a rural environment and that, and I'd say in the urban environments, there was a lot of it as well. But the dogs interacted with each other, they interacted with strangers, and to some degree they were trained. And there was training. It was kind of like inadvertent training, that the dogs got. But nowadays, It's not acceptable to have your dog roaming or out around, which is right. I mean, I agree with this. Your dog should not be roaming around the country or out on the streets. And for your dog to be well adjusted, I would say it's essential to have some level of training on your dog. Whether you have the skills to train your dog, or you want to bring him to a training club or a training group, or I would say it's essential. It's as much essential as educating your child to train your dog, to socialize and train your dog at a very early age. Even I would say it's going back to the socialization. Even if you socialize your dog from 8 to 16 weeks old, you set your dog up for success in life. There's a lot. I suppose people would have seen dogs years ago and walking around and everything, and and people think then, oh well, it's I don't have to train my dog, but it's very important to train your dog and to socialize your dog at an early age.
Yes, definitely. And for the rescues themselves, what can we do to help? As in, should people donate money, food, time? Are there ways to help rescues without necessarily adding to the problem or without having to rescue a dog if it's not feasible for you to do so at the current time?
Yeah, well, it is an admirable thing to rescue a dog. There's no doubt about it. Like, I mean, if you are looking for a dog, a family pet or whatever, it is a good, I mean, it is a good place to go to, one of the places to go to decide if you want to take on a rescue dog. Now, some people a rescue dog won't suit them. Some people a rescue dog will suit them. Some people, you know what I mean, they will get the right rescue dog. It is a good thing to rescue a dog, like, I mean, especially a dog that that's after being handed in or whatever. I would admire people who rescue dogs. It is, and sometimes it can be a hard road to go down. There's dogs that maybe wouldn't be the easiest to handle because they have not been trained who are in rescues, and I admire somebody who takes on a dog like that. Of course, the rescues need money. They do need money. They do need volunteers to help them walk and maintain the places. Yes, they do. Like, I mean, if I would say one of, even above giving money to the rescue, I would say to volunteer for your local rescue just to help out and bring out the dogs for a walk. It's definitely a good thing. A lot of these dogs in rescues, they don't get out. They don't get personal contact with people, because the people who are running the rescues, they are under so much pressure that all they have time to do really is clean the dogs and feed the dogs. Like, you'll have two or three people in charge of 40, 50 dogs. So I mean, basically all they will get time to do is go into every kennel, clean them out, have a little bit of contact with them, and feed them. Really, really. So I would say my own personal opinion would be, go into your local rescue, ask them if they want volunteers or somebody to help, and give your time. Like, all these things, that's what dogs need above all else, whether you have your own dog or whether you're a rescue. They want time. They want your time. And in a world where we're time poor, this is why we have dogs out of control in rescues and dogs out of control in people's homes, because they're not getting time.
Do rescue dogs make good pets?
Yes, some do. Some do. It's like saying, do Labradors make good pets? Yes, some do. Some make very good pets. We've had some very, very good success stories here, and even people who have taken on difficult dogs. We had one man here, he took on a very difficult Felix, working Belgium Shepherd, completely out of control, no training whatsoever. And he this man took the dog on, and he's after going through the gold good citizen with the dog. He's after handling a dog that came in here, highly aggressive, and he's after handling the dog, very large, powerful dog, out in a field full of other dogs and strangers. And he's after achieving one of the highest titles that you could in the Irish Kennel Club. Like, I mean, we had people here that took on, we had two people that came in here that were retired teachers. They took on a German Shepherd that had been locked up for all his life, and they trained him that they could walk him and handle him in a class full of other barking dogs. I could go on. We've had a lot of success stories here. Now, I could say we've had failures as well, but the failures have been really down to the people haven't committed fully. But we have had people here who have taken on rescue dogs and difficult rescue dogs and have really succeeded fantastically with them. it is very possible.
Great. And if you do decide to go down that route, what questions should you ask at the rescue?
Well, I suppose, I mean, the rescues are limited to what they can give you. Some of the rescues, they would take in dogs from the pounds, or dogs would be just surrendered to them at the gate. So to know the dog's history sometimes can be difficult for them. I would say if you wanted to take on a dog, you decided that you wanted to rescue a dog, I would say to the rescue, would it be possible to foster the dog first and take on the dog on a foster basis first and take the dog to see how he got on with you and your family. Even if you couldn't do that, would be to go up to the rescue maybe on a weekly basis and take out the dog and say, I want to volunteer to walk this dog and spend time with him. To invest to invest a bit of time and effort really into choosing the dog, whether from the rescues really there's I mean I know people in the rescues who arrived out to work and there was dogs tied to the gate. So I mean they'll tell you what they know about the dog, but I mean, you can ask them basically what the temperament of the dog is, what's he like with other dogs, X, Y, and Z. But a lot of time the rescues don't know as much as they would like to know about the dog.
Yeah, yeah. And as you say, they're limited in what they can tell you anyway. But is
Yes.
there a way for people visiting to discern which dogs are neglected and possibly abused versus which dogs are have simply been rehomed?
Yeah, well, I suppose look, the rescues really they won't give out dogs that are aggressive with people anyway, or really these days they won't really dogs that are aggressive with other dogs. They're going to be fairly selective about what to give out anyway, like to people nowadays. So I mean, if you were going into the rescue, I mean, you can gauge the dog's temperament. Some dogs, you know what I mean. If you have young children and that, like, I mean, you want a dog that's fairly placid. If you have very young children, I mean, you can gauge the dog's temperament, whether he's quite placid or whether he's quite active. You can gauge it by, we'll say, a breed. I mean, if you go in and you see a working border collie, you'll probably know that that dog is going to be a fairly active dog. It'll be a reasonable guideline. Breed is a reasonable guideline. Working temperament as well. You go in like I mean, I would go in any of the dogs that I would rescue. We would have had people here who wanted to do rescue dogs, and I would have gone in with them, and I would have gauged the dog's temperament on my own experience. Like I would have brought things like a ball or a squeaky toy, or I would have brought the dog out around maybe around other dogs, and just gauged his reaction around other dogs, and controlled him around other dogs. We'll say food motivation. Is the dog food motivated? So I mean, a dog that's food motivated is easier to train than a dog that isn't food motivated. We'll say if a dog has toy motivation, if he's interested in toys, a dog that is toy motivated is easier to train than a dog that is not time motivated. We'll say a dog that is friendly with people and will maybe get a certain bond with a person. You will have a dog that will come over and maybe he'll put his head against you and be very, very friendly towards you. A dog like this will probably be easier to train than a very aloof dog that will not give any eye contact or any attention to you whatsoever when you go into the pound. There are ways of gauging it. You'd want some experience with dogs, though, I mean, to be able to gauge something like that. Some people will go in and say, oh, look, he's wagging his tail, he's fine. And I'll go, oh, I've been bitten by dogs wagging their tail. That's not a particular good guideline to to
Mhm.
gauging whether the dog is friendly or not. There are, I would say, a dog that will give you eye contact, a dog that will chase a ball, a dog that will take a treat from your hand. This would be a very rough guideline to a dog that probably will be easier to train than a dog that will not give eye contact, the dog that will not chase a ball, and a dog that will not take a treat from your hand. These dogs probably would be a little bit harder to train than the dog that will give you attention, that will, you want a dog that's going to have a bond with you. I mean, really with training, and that's what we see here. People will say to us, oh, you take my dog and train them. And I'll go, ideally, I would like to see you training your own dog, because to train your dog is to have a bond with them, a rapport with them, an individual relationship with them that facilitates the dog's obedience around you. I can look as a professional dog trainer, I can take a dog, and because I'm at this all the time, and I can probably train the dog, but that's down to my experience. So if I'm looking at a dog that's going to be suitable for training, I'm looking at a dog that will be able to build a bond with a person, and a close bond with a person. Yeah.
Yeah. And for dogs like that, does it take longer to build trust with them? Is there a different way of going about it?
Yeah, well, it does take time. If you have a dog that's maybe been, and we've had a good few of them here, have a dog that he's had a bad experiences with people in the past. A typical one that we would see, and it's not always from rescues, but you would see a dog and you will get a treat and you will say to the dog, sit, and the dog's tail will immediately go between their legs when you say the word sit to them. Now, from that, I would say that somebody has tried to train the dog to sit, and it's not been in a particularly nice way that they've trained them. You will see dogs here that will arrive and they will not give eye contact. And that's because when they've tried to interact in a particular way with people, they've not got positive feedback. They've probably got negative feedback, such as they've been punished or something for interacting with person in a friendly way. It can take time. Um, but I mean, then again, if you're not going to put time into your dog, I wouldn't either buy a dog or rescue a dog. Your best, if you say that I haven't got time to put into a dog, probably be as well to go and buy something like a goldfish or a rabbit or something that you don't need to train.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. I think the idea of fostering a dog is a good happy medium because if you take a dog for a week or two or longer, you're giving the rescue a break and you're also getting used to the dog and seeing if your routine can actually fit around the dog or if you can fit the dog into your routine. And then you get to try before you buy, basically, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah, well, as a guy said to me a while ago, his wife said that she wanted a dog, and he said, no, no, we're not getting a dog. He said, we got a plant, he said, and it died. He said, so he said, we might try a goldfish and see if we can keep that alive. We'll work our way up to a dog eventually. If you haven't got time to keep a plant alive, you haven't got time to look after a dog.
It's true. It's true. And finally, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, how would they do so?
Oh, I would say probably to go onto the Facebook page probably would be the best idea and send us a message. We have a phone number and it's up on all the pages. But I would say if you can't get an answer on that, shoot us a text as well. Because what we do is probably once a day or so, we'll sit down and go through all the messages. We're staffed by mostly volunteers, so it's hard for somebody to be there answering the phone like 8 or 10 hours a day, and we do get we get phone calls. The phone does ring sometimes at 9 o'clock on a Sunday night after I think somebody's had a few glasses of wine or something too, and they have the best intentions in the world. But probably the best thing
Yeah.
is to shoot us a message, and we will get back to you at some point.
Okay, great. And how would they find your page on Facebook?
Type in the National Dog Authority of Ireland on Facebook. You will also
Hmm.
get, our related sites that are attached to the National Dog Authority of Ireland, such as Kilkenny Dog Training Club, Carlow Dog Training Club, and even we have Canine Buddies over in the west of Ireland as well, as run by a good friend of mine, great lady, who's after taking it on herself, like to do a lot of good work over there too in Galway.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much for all the information, Billy.
Thank you very much, Marie.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Kibble and Quibble. For more information, visit kibbleandquibble.com or follow us on Facebook.